All right, everybody, what's going on? Good afternoon. I hope you guys liked the show that me and Brandon of the Hawk's Nest did just now. If you didn't catch it live, check the VOD when it goes up, if it's not already up. Sometimes it goes up really quick. But we talked about the Steelers win. We're talking about this upcoming Saints game. But we do have a little bit of news to go over. Technically, this happened this morning, but by the time I saw it, it was already pretty close to the time for the stream, and I already had a couple videos going live this morning, so I decided to just wait, and I said I'd go ahead and post a video about this after the stream. But the Seahawks did finally go through with signing interior offensive line depth in the form of former Giant and former Saint Shane Lemieux. The interesting thing there, of course, being that Shane Lemieux played under Clint Kubiak last year in New Orleans and actually played a few games. He actually started 4 games for the Saints. So that connection is probably why he's here. Now, he has been signed to the practice squad, so it's not yet clear if he's going to even be active for the game, much less play in the game. I'm not aware of any big injuries going on with the interior offensive line right now, so I don't think he's on deck to actually play anytime soon, but he is a nice guy to have around in case the worst happens. So Shane Lemieux, just to run down his career real quick, drafted by the Giants back in 2020. So that was back before I was doing really super in-depth draft coverage on this channel. So I remember him a little bit. I remember noting him a little bit. Oregon guy, played at Oregon, born in Washington State, actually. So a little bit of a local guy. So that's kind of cool as well. But for the most part in his career, he's been a relatively anonymous and forgettable player. For most of the seasons he's been in the league, he's barely played. 2021 and 2022, he basically did not play. He played 1 game each of those 2 seasons. And really, you got to go back to 2020 to find a year where he played a lot. But just to kind of quickly size things up here real quick on Pro Football Focus to get an idea of what we've got here, it's certainly not anything remarkable. But again, it's better than just some random guy you pulling off the street, and sometimes that's all you need. Like, you go to Pro Football Focus last year, he played 337 snaps. That's about a quarter of the season, or actually more like a third of the season, really. And it wasn't terrible. It certainly wasn't great. 51.1, pass blocking grade pretty rough. 12 pressures allowed in limited pass protecting snaps from a center. I mean, that's not good. I'm not defending it. Run blocking, a little bit more manageable. Again, this is a call according to PFF. I cannot claim to have watched a bunch of Shane Lemieux tape. You'll have to forgive me for that one. Not exactly a high priority on my list as I go through my life. But he was at the very least playable in there. And he played all of his snaps at center, which is kind of notable because theoretically the Seahawks are comfortable at center with Sundell and Oluwatimi. If there's a position they'd be uncomfortable at, you'd think it'd be guard. Now, Lemieux has played guard before, but the results have been very bumpy. 2023, when he was still with the Giants, he played not a lot, still under 100 snaps, but even in a small sample size, there's nothing to say about this except it's really, really bad. 34.3, 26.1 pass blocking grade. On 67 pass blocking reps as a left guard, he had 6 pressures allowed. That's not quite as bad as allowing 12 and 221 as a center, but it's very close. I don't think there's a big difference there. And it still speaks to a player that is really not doing anything. I will say this. He was with the Giants. There's not much hope on a team like that, the way they've been recently. Like 2023, that was a pretty awful Giants team. I think we all remember that. So if you don't take my word for it, there's not much hope for a player like Shane Lemieux to do well when you're surrounded by a bunch of other really bad players. But this is a small sample size. Unfortunately, if you go back to 2020, to the biggest sample size of his career when he played about half the season, 500 snaps, it might be worse. Like, this is some of the worst grading I've ever seen for a player that actually played a lot. You should not be getting anywhere near a 32 on 500 snaps. It's okay to get a 32 on like maybe 50 snaps because it's such a small sample size, it doesn't matter. This matters. This matters a lot. He's playing mostly at left guard, by the way. So at least he's not at center. It would be even worse then, but it's still really, really bad. And again, this is like 5 years ago. I'm not saying we need to judge him by what he did 5 years ago, but he hasn't given us a lot else to look at. About all we have to look at is this 2024 when he was bad, but at the very least playable. And again, he was at center. I don't know if we need another center. I think I'd rather would have filled the guard position. But in theory, Lemieux can at least play guard. I don't know if he can play it competently the way he played center competently last year. But in theory, and obviously Kubiak has seen something he likes here. Same with Benton. Yeah, Benton. So there's not much to say here. Again, it's very likely that this ends up not mattering because Shane Lemieux is a guy who got signed to the practice squad and he's well behind other players. I would even wonder if a guy like Mason Richmond would get play time over Lemieux if it came to it. Maybe a guy like Cable Do even would. I don't know. But it's certainly not anything I'd be thinking about too hard. So that's what we got from the Seahawks today. It's not a big signing, but I know a lot of people were waiting for interior line depth, and now we have some. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I will have a video going live in a couple hours, the routing guide. I know some people like the routing guide. I might make a Mariners video tonight. We'll see. I'm not so sure about that one yet, but keep an eye out for it. And I'll be on Twitch for probably the end of the Thursday night game, and I'll definitely be live on Twitch after the game. So definitely tune in there. We'll have some fun talking about this upcoming game. And then, of course, tomorrow's Friday, so we got some things going live. We got the Huskies game this week, so we'll be back to college football stuff. And real quick before I get out of here, let me tell you a little bit about Sleeper. Before I go any further, I want to tell you a little bit about my friends over at Sleeper. If you're not using the Sleeper app for daily fantasy football this year, you are missing out on some great opportunities. Take a look on the left side of your screen right now. Look at all these great things you can do over there at any time you want to. Make all kinds of over-under picks. Let's take a look at my entry for this week. I got Bijan and Saquon scoring anytime touchdowns. I think both those guys are going to get in the end zone and help lead their team to big victories. I got Pat Mahomes going over 29.5 rushing yards. He's going to need to run the ball a lot because of the way that Chiefs offense is right now. And I got JSN going over 68.5 receiving yards. Got to keep going the over on JSN until he gives us a reason not to. You get on over to Sleeper, use my promo code SBN. You can get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Opening up operations in Washington State in October. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right, welcome back. So let me know what you guys think about the Shane Lemieux signing, if you think anything of it. I understand that it's not exactly the most important thing in the world, and I understand that it's unlikely he ever plays for us. If Shane Lemieux has to play snaps for the Seahawks this year, it's a disaster kind of just on the face of it, and it has nothing to do with Shane Lemieux. It has to do with the big collection of injured players that we would have had to get to that point. But welcome Shane Lemieux to Seattle. Let's see what happens. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think, again, if anything, and see you soon.